Hello everyone. In the last video we talked about radian measure. So today we continue with trigonometry functions. So in trigonometry there are six trigonometry ratios. So we have sine of theta opposites is equals to opposite sides over hypotenuse. Cosine of theta is adjacent side over hypotenuse. Tangent of theta is opposite sides of an adjacent side, and those are the reciprocal functions. So cosecant of theta, hypotenuse over opposite side, so as you can see is equals to 1 over sine of theta, right? It's just you flip sine and you will get cosecant. So opposite side over hypotenuse, this is for sine, and cosecant is hypotenuse over opposite side. Is like you flip this ratio. Same thing for secant. So secant is like 1 over cosine is just hypotenuse over adjacent side. So it's 1 over cosine of theta. So cotangent is the same thing as 1 over tangent. So if we know those three, I'm sorry, so cotangent of theta is adjacent side over opposite side. So if we master those three right here, sine, cosine, and tangent, so those reciprocal functions will be easy for us. So cosecant is 1 over sine, secant is 1 over cosine, and cotangent is 1 over tangent. So the most important thing for us is to master sine and to know what is sine, what is cosine, what is tangent equals to. How we can remember about those? How we can remember about those functions? It means ratio if you want. So as a way to remember about it, it looks like a little bit crazy, or I don't know. It's like you cast a spell like SOHCAHTOA, or like SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA will help you a lot to remember about sine, cosine, and tangent. So what is SOHCAHTOA means? So S stands for sine, right? Sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. O is for opposite. H is for hypotenuse, right? So ka, C stands for same thing, cosine. A is adjacent, and H is for same thing, hypotenuse. TOA, T is for tangent, so tangent. O is for opposite, and A is for adjacent. So from those, if you remember a little bit about this, it's going to help you a lot. Sometimes it looks like Chinese word or like Japanese SOHCAHTOA. So if you remember about this, as sine and cosine will be very easy for you to do it. So SOHCAHTOA, S is for sine, C is for cosine, T is for tangent, and O is for opposite, H is for hypotenuse, and A is for adjacent. So let's do example to understand those trigonometry functions. All right. So in the example said, use the triangle is missing right here, triangle below, to find the 6 trig ratios. The triangle right here is a right triangle. So if you check right here, we have this length is 3 square root of 3, and this length is 3, but we're missing the length of the hypotenuse, right? But before to talk about this, so where is the I'm asking you a question. Where is the opposite side? Where's the hypotenuse? It's okay. The hypotenuse, we learned before. We said that is the opposite side to the right angle. So this is the hypotenuse. So okay, we know about it. So where is the adjacent? And where is the opposite side, right? So if I'm asking you these questions, in this case, you cannot give me no answer at all, because you're supposed to tell me, okay, which angle are you talking about? So we have to define the angle first to know exactly what is the opposite side and what is the adjacent side. All right, let's choose this angle right here. This is theta, and it's like 60 degrees, right? So now I can find out what is the adjacent side and what is the opposite side. So what is the adjacent side for 60 degrees? Adjacent side is the side just where the angle is. So this is the hypotenuse. So the adjacent side is right here, is this one. So 3, this is the adjacent, right? Adjacent for this angle. And what is the opposite of this angle? So the opposite is the angle opposite to it. So this is the opposite angle. So this one right here. So this is the opposite angle. All right, so if we choose this, for example, if we choose this, let me just change the color real quick. So if we choose this angle, the opposite side and the adjacent side change. So for this angle, the adjacent is this. And what is the opposite side? The opposite side is going to be this one, opposite side. This one right here. All right, let's work with this 60 degrees. Let's work with the 60 degrees. Now, my question is, I have this length is 3 square root of 3. I have this length is 3. What is this length equals to? What is the hypotenuse equals to? How can I find it? So I can find the hypotenuse with two different ways. So the first one I can use, if you want, the Pythagorean theorem, because it's a right triangle, so it's easy for me to find it, right? So we know that the Pythagorean theorem states that h squared equals to what? A squared plus O squared, right? So h squared equals 3 squared plus 3 square root of 3 squared. So h squared equals to 9 plus, don't forget here, both there we get the square, right? So it's going to be 9 times 3, because the square root cancels out with the square. So it's going to be h squared equals 9 plus 27. H squared equals 36. So that means h equals to what? Positive or negative square root of 36. So because we talk about the length, so it's going to be, we're going to keep only the positive values. So h equals positive square root of 36, by the way, and h equals to what? 6. So now we found 6. We found already what is h equals to. So it's 6. This is one way. The other way you can find with it, which is because we know the length of this adjacent side, and we know the size of this angle, which is 60 degrees, so we can find exactly what is h with this using what? So what is the relation? What is that function or trig function? It makes a relation between the adjacent and the hypotenuse. Adjacent and hypotenuse is, if you remember, is ka, right? So ka toa. So let's write so ka toa first to remember what. So ka toa. I'm advising students to do this all the time so you can see it in front of you. We'll never forget about it. So we see this, the relation is cosine made, the relation between this adjacent and the hypotenuse, right? So what is the adjacent hypotenuse? You can use even the other one. You can use sine if you want. So let's use this one because we have this length too. But let's imagine if you don't have this length, you check the one that's easier for you. So for example here, 3 and 6 is more easier, right? All right, so cosine of theta, what is theta here? Cosine of theta, theta is 60. So cosine of 60 equals to what? Equals to adjacent. What is adjacent? So 3 over h. So here, what is h equals to? H equals to what? Is 3 over cosine of 60 degrees, right? So now, let's use a calculator. We'll show you first way how to use a calculator to find what is sine, cosine. All right, as you can see, sine is right here, cosine is right here, tangent is right here. So we have to find out now the length of the hypotenuse. So we're going to put 3 over cosine. So cosine, put cosine of 60 degrees, right? Make sure that you are in degrees, right? Right here, shows you degrees. 60 degrees equals to what? Equals to 6. Here we go, as you can see it. So we find hypotenuse equals to, so h equals to 6. Same thing with Pythagorean theorem.